Welcome back to the John and Linetia Show.
One correction we have to make. Turns out there was not a plane crash on the northwest side of the city. Repeat, not a plane crash.
The record strewn about was just the journalistic integrity of WGN News.
We apologize for the error.
So sorry. So sorry.
So
I think someone else is sorry right now.
Hey, well, maybe not. You know, the big, locally oriented news this week was that a grand jury indicted the nephew of our former mayor. It would be great if they indicted a mayor. Anyway, the nephew of former Mayor Richie Daley.
Not another politician.
Richard Vaneco?
Yeah.
For involuntary manslaughter.
Ooh.
Basically, in 2004, out on the street with friends, ran into a group and somehow, essentially, from what I understand, there was this, police called it a fight, but it was one punch. Vaneco just basically punched this 21-year-old and who basically fell over, hit his head, killed him. And the police at the time pretty much, based on what the grand jury has kind of put out, or a lot of the testimony and stuff, at least that has kind of leaked, and I actually should also say, the Chicago Sun-Times did a lot of legwork, a lot of investigating on this, but it definitely does appear that initially charges were never brought against him. We could say essentially likely because he's the nephew of the mayor.
And they said that someone on the police force, maybe an investigator of some type, tried to put it in, and when they found out that it was the mayor's nephew, it quickly got slid under the table.
Right. Right. It's one of those things where, likely it wasn't a case of like Mayor Daley picking up the phone saying, I want you to make this go away. Right. Okay. It's how it is in the movies. That's how it may have been from his, in his dad's time. What it more likely is, really, is that it's that kind of, it doesn't even need to be said, that unspoken obedience, that unspoken. It's, it's like, everybody kind of looking at it going, I don't think the mayor would like this. So, and then you go all the way down the food chain, and essentially it's sort of a, it's like, remember, like, did you see the movie The Sting? They kind of, they kind of, they all do this, essentially a sting. They're kind of, play acting to catch these people, and they kind of give this signal. They put their finger next to their nose as if, okay, no.
Right,
and it's kind of it, it's like, the mayor didn't have to go, I want you to do this. It was expected. It was unspoken. And whether or not the mayor even wanted it to be expected, he very well could have been thinking, I don't like this nephew anyway. He's an asshole, But it happened. And 8 years later, a grand jury investigating, looking at all their evidence, basically is going, what the hell? He should have been charged with something. Because it's what you have. You have two groups of people kind of meet each other on the street. One guy throws a punch at another guy, knocks him cold, and then he dies.
He runs away.
And then he runs away.
And then he didn't know the guy had died in the beginning.
Right.
And the mother of the son didn't know that it was the mayor's nephew that did it.
Sure.
Didn't know.
All she knew is that nobody was ever arrested. No charges were ever brought.
Right. And she had no money to try to do anything, and she said that I'm just going to go home and try to get over the fact that my son is gone.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
It's sad all the way around.
It's really, really sad.
Yeah.
But, I understand that unspoken rule, sometimes you don't say anything, because it's someone higher up, But right is right.
Yeah.
Right is right, and, crazy dude, you killed somebody.
Yeah.
So you need to be brought up on charges and let your peers decide, what to do. But the mother, I was listening to her. She feels so bad about it. She's just like, I don't want anything to happen. This guy has a mother too, But a lot of people are like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't care that this is the mayor's nephew.
Well, the whole point is that somebody needed to be put, somebody needed to be brought up on charges.
Mm-hmm.
You can't basically, it's amazing. I've never really heard a situation where essentially the police would be like, well, you know what? Stuff happens.
Right.
Somebody threw a punch and somebody died. Whether or not, even if it was, a self-defense case or something like that, you're still going to investigate and probably...
But we don't know any of that because nothing ever happened.
Well,
nothing.
Right. And yet a lot of witnesses, a lot of testimony, even testimony then kind of points that, the mayor's nephew apparently was kind of being an aggressive jerk and likely instigated everything.
Do you know if this dude ever got in trouble before? The mayor's son?
Nephew?
Nephew. So sorry.
Not this kind of trouble. He wasn't that,
Okay.
But then again, who knows what else has been swept under the rug because, after all, he's the mayor's nephew.
The mayor's nephew. So sad.
The other interesting thing about this is this follows the recent verdict in the Anthony Abati case.
Okay.
Where you had that off-duty police officer that beat up a female bartender in 2007.
Right.
And if not for the surveillance tape, it was being covered up. It was definitely being covered up. There was a code of silence happening in the police, which is amazing. I'm always amazed that good cops would want to cover for bad cops.
Well, you do have to understand that, the policemen, the firemen, whatever, they're a brotherhood. You know what I mean? And they stick up for each other.
It might be, but if you're in the brotherhood and you're giving the brothers a bad name, you should at least get some sort of internal brother justice.
It doesn't always happen. And I'm sure this isn't the first time something has happened.
Well, no.
I'm pretty sure there have been millions of times, and it's unfortunate, I shouldn't say millions, I'm going to say hundreds of times where the policemen have done something and it's swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
It's been covered up because, this is my friend. Or he didn't mean to do it. Or maybe the person, who was involved got paid off. Or something.
Right.
It's really kind of sad.
Right.
But I'd say people should be brought to justice.
Yeah. And it's, again, I see a couple of instances where, because of people who are connected or in power, whether they be the nephew of the mayor or another police officer, they basically are being, it's almost like they were allowed to get away with their crimes, alleged crimes, I guess you could say, without coming to justice. Yeah. And it just breeds a lot of mistrust.
I don't think this is going to be the first or the last time you're going to see this.
Hey, it's a shame, though. It's a shame. It would be nice if all the police were like, Dragnet, like Joe Friday. Everyone was a straight arrow, and if you saw another cop that was screwing up, that was doing something illegal, you basically would get that cop thrown out of the force.
It doesn't always happen.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And it's sad.
Mm-hmm. All right, coming up next, Korn, the silent killer.
You're listening to the John and Linetia Show.